Today we're going to talk about how Keir Starmer will be the next Prime Minister of Britain, barring, him managing to bottle it in an extraordinary way. Oh, that was hard to say. I need to spend some time with my favorite book. You guys go on without me for a bit. Oh, Carl. You always know what to say. Anyway, so, oh God, he's still there. We are going to talk today about how Keir Starmer basically is certain to be the next Prime Minister. He may not win a majority, but all history, all of the data we have says that this guy is going to be walking through Downing Street in about a year and a half as the winner of the general election. Now, a lot of people don't think that's going to happen. So why do I think that's going to happen? The initial upfront reason why I think it's going to happen is he is massively ahead in the polls. In July, he led the Conservatives by 19 points, which is a huge margin. Bear in mind that in 1997, Tony Blair didn't even win by that much, and Boris Johnson certainly didn't beat Jeremy Corbyn by that much. This is, if it were repeated and an election, a historically massive lead. And it's very uncommon for Labour to get these kinds of lead. They haven't had them since the early 2000s. And that's why a lot of people think this alone is a sign he's going to win. If translated into seats, we'd be looking at a Labour majority. They would win close to 470 seats, reducing the Tories to about 80, Lib Dems would about 50, SNP about 25, and the other parties more or less the same as last time. Now, this is taking into account tactical voting. That's why the Lib Dem number is so high. It's part of my new model that basically takes into account that lots of Labour voters are likely to vote Lib Dem in marginals and vice versa. Now, a lot of people take the view that the Tories will recoup a lot of this lost support as we get closer to the next general election. About 2 years ago, I would have agreed with them. However, we are closer and closer to the next election. Some say it could be as soon as October next year, and things still look like this. There is also some important context to bear in mind here. Namely, that in order to win, Rishi Sunak needs to win a majority. None of the other parties are going to work with him except the DUP. And in order to win close to a majority, or just under, so he only needs the DUP, he needs to win the popular vote by a margin of about 7 points, close to how David Cameron won it in 2010 and 2015, which, as we know, was enough for them to get into government both times. As you can see, they are very far from that now. They are minus 19 points in the polls when they need to be plus 7. And in order to win a majority of the size that they enjoyed last time round, they need to win by twice that margin. So the question is not, is it possible for the Conservatives to claw back that level of support? Because theoretically, yes, it could happen. Keir Starmer could eat a bacon sandwich or something and lose all his popularity overnight. The question is more, has it ever happened before? Has this kind of polling lead ever been overcome by a government? And the answer is no. The biggest swing to the government in the run-up to an election, so about the same time as we are now, about a year and a half away, is 15 points. Sunak needs 26. The average swing to the government over the last 40 years or so has been 6 points. So he, if historical trends are to be trusted, can probably only count on a 6-point swing in his favour when he needs 26. So it's very, very far short. And we're not talking margin of error stuff there. On all data like this, you kind of have to take a little bit pinch of salt. This is not that. We're talking about 20 points. History does not give this man any comfort. The issue as well is that he needs to be getting the polls to get better. They are not. They're getting worse. As you can see from this helpful chart, The Labour vote has been rising and rising ever since Partygate, and the Tory vote falling correspondingly. However, it's not getting any better under Rishi Sunak. At the moment, we're very much close in terms of the Tory vote to back where we were under Liz Truss. Under her, the Tories dropped as low as 25%. Sunak is on 27%. That's not that much of a gain. What's worse is, it's not shown on this chart because it doesn't show up because the numbers are too small, but what's worse is for him is that he's also managed to lose a bunch of voters to Reform UK. And while many of those people are not showing up in by-elections, they are hurting the Tories in the polls. The other problem facing Sunak and the Conservatives is that his own numbers are really, really not great. In order to overcome the polling deficit, I think you need like an extraordinary politician. And he's really not that. Like, his personal popularity numbers have crashed in the past few months. He started off, as you could see, with a pretty decent set of numbers and more or less the same as Starmer's. However, in that same period of time, while both leader support has gone down, as you can see, Starmer's is a pretty mediocre -2, Sunak's gone down by a lot more, and he's now on -21. These are not the numbers of someone who is on course to overturn a 19-point polling deficit. They're the numbers of someone who might claw back a little bit, but fail. Another problem facing him is that despite being the incumbent Prime Minister, when people are asked who they see as the best Prime Minister of the options, they don't pick him. They pick Starmer. Which, to other leftists like me, who don't particularly like Starmer, may seem very strange. You have to bear in mind, the other option is Sunak, who is awful. One of the most damning numbers, though, one of the most concerning numbers for the Conservatives is the public perception of how they're doing on the economy. The economy has long been a strength of the Conservatives, dating all the way back to the financial crisis when Labour was in office during the financial crisis and got very, very badly unpopular. And the Tories have led consistently on that measure from around about 2010 all the way up until last year when Liz Truss became PM. Tories are not leading anymore. Instead, according to Delta Poll's most recent polling, they are trailing by 45% to 29% on who would best manage the economy. This is who people think would manage the economy best at a time of economic uncertainty and crisis. And that is not where you want to be as the government. This is supposed to be Sunak's strength, to be clear. This guy was Chancellor. And they don't trust him with the finances. And to me, this number alone basically says it's over. But I want to close with, I think, the most devastating number, and the one I think should put to rest any notion that Keir Starmer is not going to be the next Prime Minister, and that is the overall satisfaction with the government. Back in 1997, just before the general election, which saw the Tories end up with their worst results since 1832 in the popular vote and their worst results since 1906 in terms of seats, the government's net approval was -50. As of this month, in 2023, from the same pollster, the same question, the government's net satisfaction is -65. So whether you are in favour of a Starmer win or against it, or you're ambivalent on it, this is a picture you should get used to seeing an awful lot, because he is going to be the next Prime Minister. I'm very, very convinced of that. As I say, certainly possible he won't win a majority. It's definitely historically realistic for the Tories to claw back enough support that they keep him to a hung parliament. But realistically, they need to do a lot more than that to keep him out of Downing Street. They need to achieve a swing the likes of which had never been seen in British political history. And while that kind of thing might have been possible with Corbyn leading a political party, I don't think it's possible with Sunak. So, at the end of it all, this guy may not win every seat in the country, but he's probably going to feel like it on election day. So that's my take on whether Keir Starmer will become Prime Minister. If you don't think he will, let me know in the comments. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you soon. Bye-bye.